Hello, creatures of Earth, alien beings, others. Welcome back from the holidays season. Welcome to 2021. Welcome to the madness and the glory of life on this wonderful planet. I am massively, amazingly, wildly overjoyed to be with you here again this evening at an earlier time, an easier time for many people, an easier time for me too. We decided to change the time for 2021, so I hope this is working out for you. And my apologies to anyone watching this later for whom it didn't work out. But this is the new reality of 2021, is we're going to do this a little earlier to make it a little easier for many folks. So I hope that you had a wonderful time off, if you did have any time off in late December and early January. I know a lot of people went on retreats, meditation retreats, which is awesome. I support anyone going on a meditation retreat. I think that's the coolest possible use of your vacation time. Lots of people are still on retreat, so good luck to them in going deeper in their meditation. I feel like before we dive in here, I want to review almost every meditation we did in 2020, which is a lot of meditations. I bet we did at least 45, if not more, on YouTube here. And every one of those meditations was following kind of a understanding of the sequence of how we're sitting. Not everyone, but most of them. And if you look in the kind of like show notes that are there for a lot of the meditations, I write it out, like, here's what we're doing. And so you can go back if you review those. All those meditations are there for you to, re-listen to, re-experience. And if you do go back to the ones that have notes, which is most of them, you'll see that there's kind of a system that we're using. And this is a really common system used in Vajrayana Buddhism. It's a system used in Dzogchen traditions, in Mahamudra traditions, in other Vajrayana traditions. And it's pretty straightforward in a way. It's the simple version, but it will help you to understand what we're doing. So just remember that we're almost always starting out with shamatha and then going to some kind of vipassana, and then maybe doing something even beyond that in the non-dual only realm. And so in the simplest way of understanding it, we're always starting out with shamatha and then moving to do some kind of vipassana or investigation. So shamatha is staying calm, essentially relaxed focus, becoming relaxed and clear and bright. And vipassana is investigation, right? Looking into phenomena. When after our shamatha portion, I'm guiding you with instructions about, looking at the sense of self or looking at sensory experiences arising, and so on and so forth. That's all vipassana or investigation, right? So we're almost always doing some kind of shamatha followed by some kind of vipassana. Not always. Sometimes we do a mandala visualization or, a more loving kindness oriented practice or something. But usually we're going to do that first part. Usually the first half of the hour is shamatha practice. And that usually I divide shamatha into two parts. Shamatha with an object, where we're working on a specific concentration object, and shamatha without an object, where the mind is just then allowed to remain relaxed and open without trying on purpose to focus on any particular thing. So, we've got shamatha, then vipassana or vipassana, And then that first shamatha section is usually divided into two pieces, shamatha with an object and shamatha without an object. So that's the usual path there. And there's a lot of things we can do that we would call shamatha. There's a lot of things we can do that we would call vipassana. And there's, of course, practices to do after that if we get very good at those. So I just want to reintroduce all that at the beginning of the year here, both to help you, look back on all the practices we did last year and understand, again, the basic structure of how those fit together, and also to have a better understanding of what we're doing in 2021. And I will always reference those terms, shamatha, vipassana, and other terms to help you get where things kind of sit within this very simplified map of meditation. Okay, so that's just a little intro to what we're doing, what we've been doing, what we will be doing to help you kind of stay oriented and both to the past and also to the future practice. And probably in some of the descriptions of the videos moving forward, I'll put a little bit more of the diagrams and more of the understanding what's going on, because it can get a little complex, understanding how things fit together. So with that, let's get going. And as usual, we'll do some shamatha practice and then see what happens after that, okay? And remember that shamatha practice, which a lot of people call concentration practice, but that's not what shamatha means. Shamatha means remaining calm or sitting in calmness. And so remember that this kind of practice that we're doing here, even when we're concentrating on an object, it's not about being all tight and intense. It's about relaxing and enjoying and staying nice and concentrated. But notice the term shamatha. The main name is not, we're staying all tight, but rather we're relaxing, we're being open, we're enjoying. Okay, so it's important to understand that the mind becomes concentrated through a process of letting go, not a process of controlling. Okay, so let's begin. And as usual, if you're going to do the meditation, take off your glasses, get in your meditation posture. And I'll just remind you of the main points of the posture, which is the absolutely crucial one is that your lower back is curving forward, right? And when you do that, you sit forward just a little bit, boop, you'll notice how your spine goes up, your chest goes out. It's really, really crucial. It's usually hard to do if you're sitting in such a way that your knees are higher than your hips. And so that's why when we sit on a meditation cushion, it elevates the butt, makes your knees lower than your hips, and it's really easy for that lower back to curve like that. So make sure you're sitting in such a way, which I'm having a hard time doing in this chair tonight. Make sure you're sitting in such a way that your lower back is curving in. Let's try to get there we go. And that's going to make almost all the rest of this be just effortless. And all the rest of this means then your back is upright, your shoulders are back, your chest is out just a little bit. And then crucially, your head is not up like this, chin isn't out or something. People do a lot of stuff like that. No, your chin is tucked. Just a little tiny bit, but the chin is tucked. Okay, it's not in a chin lock where you're doing a pranayama lock or something. It's just tucked just a little tiny bit. Okay. And then the head is buoyant. It's not all tight. It's buoyant, meaning it feels like the head feels like it's kind of suspended by a cord from the ceiling, just sort of hanging there. And that feeling is brought about by the fact that your spine is kind of balanced in just the right way. When you get that lower Lower back, correct. Your spine goes upright kind of effortlessly. And then all the other things, your shoulders, your rib cage, your neck, your head, all of that just kind of balances off the upright spine just right at that point. Then you want to put your hands like this in your lap, or you can put them on your thighs if you like that better. People ask me really often, should I meditate with my eyes open or my eyes closed? And the answer is, it doesn't matter. Do what works for you. I don't think it's a big deal either way. There are pros and cons to both. Just do whatever works. Although over time, experiment with both because it's worth trying out. They both have their advantages. And also, of course, like anything else, their downsides. So give that a shot. I'm trying to think if there's any other major thing about your posture. A big thing about posture is that it already reflects the core of meditation practice. The core of meditation practice is to be both alert and relaxed, calm and clear. And so we want the body to be alert, sitting up nice and straight, but then relaxed. So it's like the body is already meditating. The body is already expressing this balance in meditation. And so it sets up everything just right. Now, I just realized I left the heater on. It's making a bunch of noise. I do have a heater these days, so I'm going to go turn that off. I'll be right back. There we go. So you've got your body in the meditation posture, and the meditation posture is expressing this core thing about meditation practice, which we'll come back to again and again and again, that it's both alert and relaxed. It's both bearing down and intensifying, and also easing up and opening. And getting those two things balanced and then keeping them balanced for the whole meditation, that's a big part of how we get better at meditating. So we start by expressing that in the body. It's alert and relaxed. And then, as usual, let's begin with our shamatha with an object, shamatha on a concentration object. And as always, you can use whatever object you want. A mantra, a visualization, a fire kasina, any kind of body sensation, and the body sensations of breathing, if that works for you. So to begin in the new year, let's just go ahead and use body sensations of breathing. And what I'd like you to do is, at the first part of this meditation, breathe nice and deep. So nice, long, deep in-breaths, using deep belly breathing. You really feel your belly expanding on the in-breath, and then the belly retracting on the out-breath. And if you were to look down, that should be visible, like the belly region is expanding enough, you can see it expanding. Or if you had your hands on your belly, you would feel them moving outward, right? And then as you breathe out, you actually see it contracting, or you see the hands moving in. So begin meditating on these long, deep in-breaths, and just concentrating specifically on the feeling. Feel the air going in the nose. Feel the air going down the windpipe. Feel your lungs expanding, the chest expanding, the back and the ribs expanding. And then as it moves further down the torso, feel your diaphragm pushing downwards and the belly expanding out. The kidney area in back also expanding out all the way down. You might even feel all the way down to the perineum, a kind of expansion of the in-breath. And then on the out-breath, you're just feeling all that in reverse. The belly area retracting and contracting, the chest area contracting, the diaphragm moving up, and the air then moving up out of the windpipe and back out of the nose. So this is what you're actually paying attention to when I'm saying meditate on the breathing, meditate on the sense of breathing in the body. It's a concentration object that it's very easy to hang on to for many people because there's enough going on to pay attention to. If, on the other hand, you like one particular area, many people are partial to feeling just the breath in their nose because it gives them that one little spot to look at. Or let's say you like feeling the chest because that's clear or whatever. You're welcome to stay with just one area. But if you want to get this full body breathing meditation going, then feel each of those areas like I was describing. Good. So what we'll do now is as you're concentrating on this, and you can even be saying, to help you concentrate, saying on the in-breath mentally, breathing in, and then on the out-breath, breathing out, using a nice, calm, soothing tone of voice, breathing in, maybe you want to repeat it, breathing in, breathing out, like that, breathing out. So it's just nice, slow in-breaths with labeling, nice, slow out-breaths with labeling. And while you're doing that, I will just, in the background, be helping you to relax the body. So this is not your focus object. This is just kind of something to remember, to allow to happen while you're focusing. We want to keep that body nice and relaxed. And at the same time, remembering the relaxation is just half of the process. So we're not getting sleepy or drowsy or drifting off. We're staying clear, staying bright. The mind is very bright, very engaged with the meditation at the same time that we are becoming more and more relaxed. So allow your forehead and scalp muscles to release and relax and let go. And your eyebrows and eyelids and all the little muscles around your eyes, you can just let that really relax. Whether your eyes are open or closed, the muscles of the eyes need to relax and become very, very, very soft. Allow your cheeks to release and let go, your mouth and lips to relax, and your jaw to be actually not clenched. So the upper and lower teeth are not touching. And just notice then how a kind of mood of softness and relaxation and maybe even a little kind of meltiness begins to be felt in the face and the head. Good. And now that's already beginning to affect your neck muscles and your throat muscles so that the neck and throat feels more easeful, more open, more relaxed. And even your shoulders begin to release more, to let go of tension, to open. And remember now, when I'm giving these relaxation guidances, we're not doing stretches or doing yoga. You're staying really still. Remember, shamatha means staying relaxed, sitting calmly, or abiding in peace. And those words are really meant very seriously. We're really staying still, not moving. Again, not in a tense way. It's not like we're still out of tightness. We're still out of relaxation. So notice that your throat is open, your neck muscles have relaxed, and your shoulders are much more easeful. And again, there's just kind of this beginning of this nice, warm, melty sensation over the body, that you can feel kind of a wave of relaxation moving through your entire body and coaxing you more deeply now into relaxing and opening as you continue to focus on your shamatha object. Now let the arms and the hands and the fingers just become completely limp. They just seem like seaweed moving effortlessly in the ocean. There's just kind of this liquid quality of relaxation where there's no tension at all of any kind in the arms and hands and the fingers. And notice how when the arms and hands and the fingers let go, and the shoulders and the neck and the throat let go, and the face and the head muscles let go, that again, a nice, powerful wave of ease and openness and settling moves through the body and allows you to drop now more deeply into a relaxed, clear, open, bright meditation. So that's very good. And now notice that your chest region and your upper back region and all the muscles around that upper torso area are relaxing and opening, feeling more ease and relief and release in the upper torso. And feel then your diaphragm. If you're good at feeling your diaphragm, notice the diaphragm relaxing a little bit. It's still working, of course, to power the breathing, but if you're keeping a lot of tension in your diaphragm, notice that you can just let go of that tension now. You can just release it and relax it. So just do that now. And then as the body relaxes even more, notice that the belly, which has been doing this big expansion contraction thing, that's been almost like massaging and easing any discomfort or tension in the belly so that all that discomfort just drains away. And the belly region in front releases and relaxes and lets go of tension. And the kidney region in the back also becomes more easeful and effortless and open. And you just notice that there's a sense of relief that comes when the belly region relaxes. We hold so much tension there, and when that tension drains away and there's this sense of ease and openness in the belly, it feels great. And so let's just feel that easeful opening there, that relief, that relaxation in the belly. And in fact, also the relief and the letting go in the diaphragm, the relaxation and release in the chest, and of course the arms, the hands, the neck, the head, so that you tune into the pleasant, even joyous quality of release and relief and letting go and relaxation and opening. And you notice that it just allows you effortlessly now to just drop deeply into a more open, a more easeful, a more settled, deep, deep sense of stillness and clarity, stillness and brightness that just feels really good. Remembering that deep down in there, we're already fully awakened Buddhas. We do not have to somehow generate or create Buddhahood. It's already happening way down in there. And when we relax and become clearer, some of that, let's call it just Buddha light, begins to shine forth, and you start to feel more joyous, you start to feel more energy, and you notice a sense of clarity and peace coming into the mind. Right? We're just every little bit of relaxation, every little increase in clarity, more of that natural awakeness that's always there begins to shine through. It's really awesome. Now, noticing that way down in the pelvic region can release and let go. The hips, the hip joints can relax and open. The thigh region and the calves and shins and the feet and the toes, all of that can just become like wet noodles, totally relaxed, totally at ease. And that now the whole body feels really like the tension is gone, like there's more room, there's more space, there's more ease. There's a sense of peace and stillness. And there's this clarity and brightness, a kind of wakefulness comes across the being, right? And again, this allows you to just settle and settle and settle more deeply, much, 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 much more deeply into your shamatha practice. As you're following your breathing or whatever you're doing, there's now much more clarity, much more openness, much more ability to be with. And let's just use that newfound peace. We've kind of increased the letting go, right? We've increased the relaxation. So now what I'd like you to do is allow that clarity to come forward just a little bit, just a little bit more precision around being with the breath. Once we get real relaxed, there's this kind of temptation to kind of get all cozy in our bed and start to become, woolly headed. It starts to feel really fuzzy in there because it's so sleepy and nice. And so we don't want to surrender to that mood. Remember, we're awake. This is clarity and brightness and vividness in the mind. So even though we remain very relaxed, very at ease, I'd just like you to put just a little more effort into staying with the shamatha object. So in other words, we're not getting real control-y or tight, but we're just allowing our clarity to stay with the object with a little bit more intentionality. And that's going to balance out the intensifying is going to balance out the easing up we just did, all the relaxation we just did. So now staying with the shamatha object, see if you can find a nice balance between intensifying and clarity and staying with the object, and also this sense of ease and peace and relaxing and letting go. So let's just be with that together for a while here. Continuing to focus on that breath and relaxing and clarifying. Really feel how when you get the right mixture, the right combo of intensifying and easing up, bearing down and easing up, it will start to just lock in. You'll feel the meditation deepening significantly. Good. Now, if this is working for you and you want to stay with this object, then go ahead and stay with it. If, on the other hand, you'd like to now try shamatha without an object, we'll just shift off the breath and allow the mind to just relax. So now, just like the body relaxed but stayed bright, stayed alert, stayed upright, we're going to allow the mind to relax even further and yet stay bright, stay clear. Again, if this is not something you're ready for, that's okay. Stay with the breathing. On the other hand, if you want to do this shamatha without an object, we allow the mind to relax in such a way that we're not paying attention to anything. Rather, we're just resting in awareness itself, meaning the mind is not tightening around any objects. The mind is, the flashlight of attention is all the way wide open. And that doesn't mean the flashlight is moving around. It means it's just resting wide open. And of course, thoughts continue to come up. Perhaps emotions continue to come up. Perhaps events like sounds and stuff keep happening in the world, but we're not allowing the flashlight of attention to tighten around those. Instead, we're just staying wide, 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 wide open and relaxing our attention. So let's do that now. Usually I call this dropping the ball, right? Because the habit of mind is to grab on to these objects of attention, like grab onto a thought, grab onto an emotion, grab onto an external sound, grab onto a body sensation. And what we're doing now is not holding on to that ball. So if it grabs on, we drop the ball. If the mind tightens on an object, in other words, pays attention, tension, right? You relax, you let go, you open. And if the shamatha with an object, if the focusing on the breath did not stabilize the mind enough, this will feel very chaotic. It won't settle. And so just go back and keep doing the focus on the breathing. But if the mind is adequately settled, it will remain relatively open. Still grabbing onto stuff here and there, but it then will go back to opening. This is effortless. In other words, it does not take effort to relax. We're relinquishing effort. Every time the mind tightens, we just relax. We let go of that effort. So let's do that now. So we're just allowing the mind to stay very relaxed and very open. The attention is melted. Another way to understand or to make a metaphor is that the core of your mind is melted. The core of your mind is relaxed. Any tension in the core of the mind is released and open and let go. Now, it's very easy here to get sleepy or to get dull. Again, that kind of wool gathering or just settling into the warm, comfortable, effortless zone can get really sleepy. So we don't want that. So make sure you're still sitting up a little bit straight. Make sure you're aware of that clarity and the brightness in the mind. And if shamatha without an object is coming together properly, you'll notice that you feel oddly concentrated. It feels clear and bright and stable, but you're not actually concentrating on anything. It's just that the mind is open and bright. You'll get a very, very powerful sense of settling and clarity. So let's keep working with this. Each time the mind gets into its habit of tension, just relax. If the mind gets into its habit of tightening and beginning to follow content, just relax. Remember, we're not concentrating or even following any content at all. We're just allowing the mind to stay easy and open, bright and clear and settled. We never struggle in this section. It's always letting go. If it's really not working, you just go back to shamatha with an object and do that kind of use of attention meditation. Here it is absolutely no struggle. We just keep letting go of any tension that arises in the mind and allowing it to relax and open. And notice that letting go of tension in the mind is not struggling with the mind or fighting with the mind or trying to control or direct the mind. It's the opposite of all that. You just relax the mind. Okay, good. Now, as I mentioned, we do shamatha, and then often, not always, but often we'll then move to vipassana. So, what I'd like you to focus on now, and this will just be fun and interesting, if you used the breath sensation as your focus object, let's focus on the breathing sensation now again, but looking at it in a vipassana way. And what we do when we're looking at something in a vipassana way is we're actually investigating it. And what I want you to notice about the breath sensation in this vipassana meditation is I want you to notice its emptiness. And so that can mean a lot of things. I'll define it really kind of broadly, and that is that it's always changing, that it's impermanent, that it does not have any source, that it does not have any basis, it's not dependent on anything. It's just, in a way, a sensation hanging out there in awareness. As far as awareness is concerned, the breath sensation is coming from nowhere and returning to nowhere. It's arising out of nothing and returning to nothing. So there is a breath sensation happening. And at the same time, it's like only seemingly happening, because you can't really find a concrete breath sensation. If you try to look for it to be solid and permanent, it's continually slipping away from you. It's changing, it's vanishing, it's arising over here, vanishing over there. It has this nebulous nature. So let's turn attention. We're going to use attention now a little bit. Or we can just we can think of it as the breath sensation simply arising in awareness and not use attention. But either way, there's a little bit of intention to look at something, and we're going to notice its emptiness. So notice now the emptiness of this breathing sensation. Follow it in the way you did before, moving up and down through the body, but notice at every point its emptiness. noticing or investigating its emptiness can be like noticing that there's a sensation there, there's a breath sensation there, but it's almost like it's a dream, or it's almost like it's some kind of diaphanous cloud. It's there but not there. There's an experience, but it's not an experience that's based on some kind of solid object. Rather, you notice the ephemerality, the undefinability, the vanishingness and reappearingness of this breath sensation. Look very clearly, look very deeply, and notice this about the breath sensation. Again, remember that in Vipassana, we're actually making a little bit of effort. It's not just staying calm. In shamatha practice, shamatha means remaining calm. In Vipassana, the word means to investigate. So we're actually now, we've clarified through staying calm, we're now investigating a little bit. So we're doing something. Okay, good. Very, very good. Let's end the meditation there. Just allowing yourself to begin very slowly to move and stretch. Maybe wiggling your fingers and toes, getting some movement back into your body. If you want to orient a little bit, if your eyes are closed, you can just move your head back and forth, looking at the room, move your head up and down, looking at the room, just to orient after having your eyes closed for a long time. Sometimes that's helpful. And, stretch, do some pandylation, right? Look that up. Pandylation. It's really a term about this kind of automatic stretching that the body does after sleep. So we weren't asleep at all, but I'm adapting it to after meditation. We pandulate, move our bodies, stretch our bodies, and come back around to the next part of the program. And the next part of our program tonight will be me talking a little bit about this vipassana we did. First of all, you notice I keep saying vipassana, not vipassana. And vipassana is just the way we talk about it in Vajrayana, right? We use the Sanskrit word instead of the Pali word. Those are two different languages, but the same word in two different languages. So vipassana. And remember that, as I keep saying, shamatha means peaceful, staying, abiding in peace, remaining calm. You could just think of it as staying calm. Sometimes the staying is used to mean the concentration part, right? The mind is staying on an object. And then the calm is just that relaxation. So it's alert relaxation, engaged relaxation. That's shamatha. But vipassana means to investigate, right? Special investigation. To another way you can translate the word is almost like analysis, to really look at things. And I often hear, people talk about vipassana or vipassana as a kind of being with things as they really are, or naked seeing, or whatever. And it's not that I don't understand those terms, but I would push back on those ideas a little bit, because it's not that we're just simply being with experience, because that is, in a way, shamatha. But rather what we're doing is investigating experience. And so, and we're investigating it for the purposes of awakening, right? We're not just sitting with it and kind of blobbing out. When we get into the vipassana mode, we are looking for specific things about experience. Again, in early Buddhism, we'd be looking for the impermanence thing, the way that sensations are always changing. We'd be looking for the no self, which is the no self quality of experience, which is kind of a way to talk about emptiness, actually. And we also might look at the way that sensations arising can have this component of dissatisfaction. That's early Buddhism. When we move into the Vajrayana type stuff we're doing here, the main thing we're always looking for is the emptiness component. Now, we might look at other things. We might still look at the impermanence. We might look at the dependent co-arising, the fact that for any sensation to occur, it's like the whole world has to occur, and that co-arising shows that no sensation is particular or is there on its own. It's not arising because it's a unique entity, but in fact, it's embedded in the matrix of the world, and it's something you can notice really clearly. It's not just an idea. You see that it all comes together. But here we're looking at the main thing, which is simply the emptiness quality. And again, we're investigating. I keep saying seeing or looking, but of course, in this case, we're feeling the fact that the sensation is not clearly defined. It's not like there's a boundary to the sensation that is absolutely stable and clear. It's not like there's a center to the sensation that's stable and clear. It's not like that the boundary and the center stay the same over time. And even more to the point, the idea of a thing called the sensation of the breath is an idea. You have to go, oh, I'm going to kind of think about the body, and then I'm going to think about certain sensations in the body, and then I'm going to divide it from these other sensations. You're making a whole mental construction to even create a thing called the body's sensation of breathing. But when we relax away from that and we notice that there's just a moving stream of experience that has certain clear things about it, but a lot of other things about it are very unclear. A lot of things about it are very nebulous. Then we're starting to get into that quality of emptiness, right? And so we're always looking in Vipassana, we're investigating, and we're not just looking for any old thing. That's why I'm pushing back on the idea of being with experience as it really is, because it's not that we're just for example, I'm gonna really investigate the texture of things, and that can be mindfulness. Mindfully, we can investigate texture, and that can be really enriching and clarifying and make our life more beautiful and so on. But it's not unless we go very deep with that, in which case we'd start to notice the emptiness. That is not going to necessarily be an awakening investigation. It's going to be an enlivening, beautiful investigation. But when we want to go even more deeply in there so that it's enlivening and becomes more beautiful, but actually begins to open up our enlightened mind, we have to start seeing things like the emptiness. So we're not just doing any old investigation. We're not just looking at cool stuff about stuff or just noticing. Yep, just noticing. Instead, we are noticing particular things. In this case, we're particularly noticing emptiness. And if that's not a clear concept, over time it will be. Over time, you will begin to notice emptiness more deeply and more with a lot more confidence. Part of how you know you're doing it right, so to speak, is when you're investigating the emptiness, let's say in this case of the breathing sensation. It will start to feel like a relief. You will notice a sense of relief. Because when we're doing Vipassana well and we're noticing that emptiness, some of our suffering is, some of our dissatisfaction, some of the pain of experience is actually removed. I'm noticing in the comments that people are talking about how painful sensations get less painful. That's right, because it's not that let's say, if there is such a thing, the objective level of pain necessarily instantly decreases. It's that when we're noticing the emptiness, we're not making such a thing out of the pain. And when we stop making such a thing out of it, it becomes easier to work with. We feel relief. Now, this relief might not be immediately really large or really clear, but it'll be there, and it'll be there a little bit. You'll notice that there's more room in experience, and there's more like, oh, okay, it kind of more, it's kind of easier to be with. So Vipassana is interesting because even if the sensation is really painful or difficult, at the same time, you'll notice there's a kind of relief involved in seeing its emptiness. So that's one way to understand. Even if you don't understand emptiness as a concept, you'll start to know that you're going towards it. Okay, so we've got these two sections of most of these meditations, and most of the meditations last year. We've got the shamatha component, we've got the vipassana component, and then we can go on into rigpa. We can go on even beyond that into like a spontaneity. But usually we're doing the shamatha and the vipassana. We often divide the shamatha into two types, shamatha with and without an object. And then in Vipassana, I want you to be very clear that you're doing something there and that you're looking in a particular way for a particular thing. It's not just hanging out. We could translate Vipassana another way as seeing clearly. It's often translated that way, seeing clearly. Specific things. We're looking for things that bring awakening. And the things that bring awakening are looking at things like impermanence and no self and dependent co-arising, but particularly emptiness. So I want you to engage this year with the Vipassana part of this and understand that you're bringing a kind of razor sharp clarity of awareness into what's going on, to notice these properties of awakening, okay? And that you're already existing wakefulness, you're already existing Buddha nature, right? What does Buddha mean? It means awake. That's what the word Buddha means, awake. You already have a awakened nature. Bring that awakened nature to bear on these qualities of experience to notice the awakening that's already present in every experience. Okay? I'll briefly look at some questions here. Peng says, thank you. During shamatha without an object, I had my eyes closed, but for a few seconds, it felt like a bright light in the room. Very bright. Yeah. As we get deeper into meditation, it is very common that there will be lights in the mind, not lights in the room. The room can be pitch black and your eyes are closed, but you'll still see lights. These lights are not there for all people. It's not like you should try to get lights in your mind, but if they arise, that's a good sign. What's it a sign of? It's a sign of unification of the mind. The mind unifies, it sometimes for some people begins to get very bright in there. So when I talk about the clarity and brightness of awareness, I'm not talking about those lights, but those lights are interesting and useful, just as a kind of a sign that if they're there, it's a positive sign that the mind is unifying, that you're getting clear and your concentration is better. If they're not there, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. So, but it is a positive indicator. So that's good. Alex is saying, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Alex. Ben, question. Sometimes I notice an emotional pushback to investigating emptiness instead of a relief. Does that point to any mistake in the approach? It doesn't usually mean there's a mistake in the approach. It usually, and this is not always, this is just sometimes, it usually means that there's something you don't want to see. Right? So a big part of our conscious experience is suppressing things we don't want to notice. And instead we push them into the unconscious. When we start meditating, the things that we've pushed into the unconscious start arising because we're not suppressing them anymore. And so, for example, maybe you start looking into the body sensations and you might notice that, or you might notice this pushback. Well, maybe you're starting to have some feelings come up and you don't want to feel those feelings. That's really common. And so the The antidote is to sit there and feel the feelings. Let them come up, even if they're really uncomfortable, even if they are unpleasant. We sit with those feelings. And you might not do like a sharp emptiness investigation on the feelings. At first, you might just simply contact them. Do that kind of really, really basic vipassana of just contact and maybe noticing that they're impermanent, they're changing, the feelings are changing, right? We're still looking at the awakened property there, but we would switch to doing the emotions if you think that's what's going on. Sometimes there's another thing that can happen is it's not so psychological. There's just this property of resistance for some reason. And who knows why? There's a pushback. And so in that case, find the pushback. How do you know there's pushback? Where is it occurring? Is it an emotion? What is it? Why don't you want to do it? And sometimes it can be because the shamatha felt so relaxed and open, you don't want to do. But that shows that in that case, you're getting a little dullness. You're getting just slightly too relaxed, just a little too drowsy. And so in that case, the pushback is the pushback of not wanting to wake up, And so you really want to push back against that. Definitely wake the fuck up. If, on the other hand, it's just resistance, find the resistance and then look at the emptiness of that. Okay? David has the same question. It's hard to sustain. If it's hard to sustain because there's pushback, then I've just given you examples of what that can be about and maybe what to do about it. If it's hard to sustain because you're getting exhausted, then stop doing it. If the mind is just tired, it's too hard to concentrate for that long. Do it as long as you can, and then just back off. And you can go back into just relaxing and focusing, or you can just end the meditation. But don't push it to the point where it hurts. Of course, we want to be very concerned with keeping ourselves, within our limits of comfort. Noah has an interesting question about handling Dharma drama, especially separating faith and a teacher tradition. I would just say that that's a wonderful, interesting, fascinating question. You'll see that in the Deconstructing Yourself podcast, I have at least 5 episodes about that question, but it's kind of too big for the just few minutes we have left here. So I'm just going to apologize and say, hopefully we'll talk about that another time. It is a big issue and I've worked with it a lot. Again, go to the podcast for hours of talking about this. Before we end here, I want to switch gears and remind you that these meditations are brought to you by myself and by San Francisco Dharma Collective. It's sponsored by San Francisco Dharma Collective. San Francisco Dharma Collective splits any proceeds that come from that are donated to them from this meditation with me. And so if you're feeling generous and you're feeling like you have an overabundance of cash, if you've got a few spare $1 million hanging around or a couple of spare Bitcoins, you can donate those to San Francisco Dharma Collective. You can donate that, and San Francisco Dharma Collective will use it to bring more teachers, more Buddhist meditation, more YouTube teachings, more Zoom teachings, different teachers, different teachings to you. Free. They're offered free to the whole world. And if anyone out there in the world wants to give donations back to the San Francisco Dharma Collective, and also they split that with me, that would be wonderful. And it will help us and help San Francisco Dharma Collective to bring more of these meditations to you and to the rest of the world, for free. So people are asking about the schedule. This live session is always Thursday night at now in the year, in this new year, it's at 5:30 p.m. on Thursday night, every week, almost every week. Usually on my Twitter feed or on Facebook or on the SFDC website. There will be a notice if it's not going to happen, but you can pretty much guarantee 5:30 Thursday night, I'll be here guiding meditation, answering questions, giving teachings, and so on. So as usual, thank you everybody for joining me here. I deeply, deeply, deeply love to have you here. As Katie is reminding me frantically in the live chat, this Saturday night on the San Francisco Dharma Collective Zoom channel, I'll be leading Death Sangha. Death Sangha is an intense, powerful, challenging engagement with death. So if you feel up for that, go to the link that's in the live chat to sign up on Eventbrite. We do not live broadcast Death Channel over YouTube. It's just too intense. It's something that is it's a little too powerful. But you can sign up on the San Francisco Dharma Collective Zoom link and join us this Saturday for Death Sangha. So I look forward to seeing you there. That's cool because it's a Zoom meeting. We can interact a little more than is possible here on YouTube. And with that, I will say thank you for joining me and see you soon, everybody. Go to all the other SFDC teachers. They're great. They're powerful. They're beautiful. They're interesting. They're wonderful. And it's just so great to be with you here, teaching meditation, joining together to do this stuff. So I look forward to seeing you next week and see you also on Saturday night at Death Sangha. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.